Okay, so we're talking about how any whole number can be placed over 1. So you have number 4, which is the same as 4 over 1, right? So if you multiply 4 times 1 over 4, or 4 times 1/4, that's the same thing as 4 over 1 times 1/4. And we know that when we multiply fractions, we just go straight across. 4 times 1 is 4, 1 times 4 is 4. And what do we know about a number over itself?
It's 1.
It's 1, exactly. So I looked at 4 times 1 over 4, which if you take this circle, we split it into fourths. Each of these little pieces is a fourth, 1/4. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times 1/4. There's 4 of those pieces, and when you color them all in, you have one whole piece. Be it a pie or a pizza, whatever you feel like. I like cheesecake myself. Okay, so that's what we did first. We're just thinking about how a whole number is also 4 over 1, or is also the number over itself. Okay, so what if we had 4 times 3/4? This time, it's not simply one piece. Now we have 1, 2, 3 pieces at a time. Okay, so 4 times 3/4, we just do the same thing. We take that 4, put it as 4 over 1, then continue, just copy over the times 3/4, and then do the same thing. 4 times 3 is 12. 1 times 4 is 4. Now we have 12 over 4. And this has a special name. If you notice, what is it different about the top number?
It's higher.
It's higher than the bottom number. And when it's higher, that's called an improper fraction. Improper because usually the lower number is at the top. When you have an improper thing, you want to change it and make it proper, right? So we take this improper fraction, and what we want to do, we always want to make an improper fraction into a whole number, like 2 or 7 or 6, or a mixed number, which is a whole number and a fraction together. And basically, a whole number with a fraction right beside it, all they're saying is this means 2 plus 3/4. This is 2 and 3/4. Also known, if you think about quarters, if you have 3 quarters, how much money is that?
That's 75.
75 cents, right? So this is the same thing as 2.75. Okay? So in order to change an improper fraction into a whole number or a mixed number, first thing you want to do is just try simply dividing. So our number was 12 over 4. So we take 12 divided by 4. And just from our math families, we know that 3 times 4 is 12. So when we divided, we didn't have to go very far. All we said was, well, the answer is 3. When I know the answer is 3, then I know 12 over 4 equals 3. And if I put it in picture form, again, we have this 1/4. This little piece right here is a fourth. When you have a 4 on the bottom, then you know this is the denominator. That's how big the pieces are. So you make whatever kind of shape you want and divide it into that many equal pieces.
Okay.
This could be a square, it could be a triangle. A triangle would be really hard, but you can make any shape you wanted as long as you divide it into 4 exactly the same size pieces. Okay? Now once I did that, I'm like, okay, I'm going to color it in like my fractions, but I have a 12. So I said 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what? I've got to draw a whole nother thing. Split it into 4 parts. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now I have 12 fourths, just like my fraction says. And what I noticed is I got hungry and I ate 3 whole pizzas. Okay? So that is a whole number is what that turned into. The other side of this, you have a whole number here, but sometimes it's going to be a little trickier, right?
Yeah.
So let's say we had 14 over 4. This time, I do the same thing, 14 divided by 4, and you go with your long division. We said 4 can go into 14 3 times, because as we know, 3 times 4 is 12. We subtracted 12, we got 2. We don't have anything to bring down because that 0 wasn't there. It was just the 14. So we said, wait a minute, I don't have 0 as my remainder yet, and that's not going to work for me right now. So I'm just going to put a decimal, add that here, and a 0. Then I can bring the 0 down. Bring down, I got 20. Right after I bring down is when I start over with my process. Just as I said, how many times does 4 go into 14? Now I'm going to say, how many times does 4 go into 20? 4 goes into 20, how many times?
4 goes into 20 5 times.
Exactly. So 5, anytime I put a number on top, I got to multiply. 5 times 4, I got 20. Subtracted it out, now I got my 0. So my answer is 3.5. Now there's another way we can do this to get the mixed number version a little quicker, but a lot of times in problems that you're doing, especially real world problems, you're going to run into, they want decimal numbers at the end, especially dealing with money. But just because we want to keep it as fractions right now, we looked over here and we thought about this, how this makes 12 over 4. And we said, well, for 14 over 4, we just need to draw one more, and we color in, this was 12, 13, 14, and like you said earlier, that makes it 3.5. So when we did our division, we said 3.5 was supposed to be the answer. Well, we got 3.5, and you said just like $3.50, that is 3.5. So basically, you just want to try dividing first, and you're going to come out sometimes with a whole number, and sometimes you're going to come out with a mixed number. Make sense?
Makes sense.